So yesterday you covered chords and arcs, and now we're going to start to do some work with chords and arcs. And I've kind of started. I'll take some of it off so you can see how I ended up with this right triangle. So we know one of the things we learned about chords is that if you have a line coming from the center of the circle to the chord, it's going to bisect it. It basically is going to be a perpendicular bisector. So that means that you can form a right triangle here, and when we say it bisects, that must mean that both of these sides of the chord are 12. So we've got 12, 5, and R, and we can use Pythagorean theorem to find that. So essentially R is going to equal the square root of 12 squared plus 5 squared, okay, or R is going to equal 13. So we found the radius. We know that this side is 13. Now, I want to find the measure of this arc. Well, the measure of the arc is going to be the same as the measure of this angle right here. And half of that angle is represented by this angle on our right triangle. So, do you remember inverse sine and inverse cosine? So if I want to find that angle, call it theta, I can pick two sides. Let's just say I do opposite over hypotenuse. So the inverse sine of opposite, in this case, of 12 over hypotenuse of 13 will give me the measure of half of that angle, this half. So I'll do that in the calculator just so you can see. So remember inverse sine, you're going to put in second sine, and then you'll put in 12 divided by 13. And we find, let me check my mode, I got to be in degrees, which I wasn't. So let's do it again. Inverse sine of 12 divided by 13 is equal to 67 degrees. So I found this portion, or this half, to be 67 degrees. It bisects it, so this side has to be 67 degrees. So 67 times 2 is 135 degrees. So the measure of this arc, AB, is 35 degrees. Okay. Let's look at the next one. It asks us to find the value of x. Once again, we can form the right triangle. So if x is this measure, the radius is 5, that perpendicular bisector divides this into 4 and 4. So now, using Pythagorean theorem, I can find x. Okay? Here I have a chord, and I can form a right triangle here. So I know the whole side that I'm looking for is x. I'm just going to call this y to give it a name. I know this bisects this angle here, this arc. So this angle that I'm looking at right here has to be 120 divided by 2, or 60 degrees. So now I know this side is 12, this side is y, and that side is 6. We don't know yet because we're looking, x is this part here. So ultimately, x is going to equal 2 times y, whatever we find for y. Okay, so we're going to do our trig, opposite over hypotenuse. So we've got the sine of 60 degrees is equal to the opposite, y, over the hypotenuse 12, or y is equal to 12 sine of 60 degrees. So 12 sine of 60 degrees is equal to 10.4. So y is equal to 10.4. Remember I said x is going to equal 2y. So x is equal to 2 times 10.4, or 20.8. Okay, so that should give you some ideas on these problems. Remember that the goal is to have the packet complete by Friday. Whatever you have done, I want you to turn it in so I can look over it and see where we are for Monday.